You are the head of experimentation and failure for Stephen Bartlett. How would you define failure?
When you're trying something new and it doesn't go right.
No one talks about failing slowly. Everything is either an obstacle and an opportunity.
And the trying something new part is important because it's you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Every single opportunity has happened because I've said yes.
When does playing it safe become the biggest risk a business can take?
If they want to play it safe, then don't expect to be growing or the biggest business in your industry in the future. You are taking an even bigger risk that you're not going to grow. Someone will probably come into any industry, but be experimenting, learning, and growing faster than you and overtake you in competition.
Knowing what you know now, what is one thing that people can do today to build their business or personal brand?
Ooh.
Grace, welcome to Top of Mind. I am so excited for the next 90 minutes. Thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
I'm so excited. Now, I feel like I need to give a little bit of context to you sitting here because I feel like we've been talking for ages, but we've really only been in each other's company for 2 instances. I reached out to you when you said you were coming back to Australia.
Yeah.
You were very enthusiastic and honestly were so quick to reply to my message about being on the podcast. And then also you joined us at Date Night, which is the first female founder dinner that I organised, which can I just say off the bat, and I know I'll probably say it at the end as well, but I'm so genuinely grateful for how generous you have been with your time with me here in Australia. So I just want to start with that.
No, I feel like I want to ask you more questions, so maybe it'll become a two-way podcast.
Ask away.
I'm like, I want to spend more time.
Yeah, literally. I know. I'm like, shall I just come with you for your international and interstate?
Come.
Let's keep chatting.
Yeah.
Now, you are the head of experimentation and failure for Stephen Bartlett's Flight Story studio. But what is something that most people don't know about you?
Ooh, personality-wise or in life? I really love Formula One.
Love.
And I once had a TikTok page where I posted TikToks about Formula One. And what's hilarious is I was posting them, was at the Abu Dhabi race, posted some for the first time. And some girls came up to me at the race and were like, we saw your TikTok. And I was like, what? I just posted for the first time. And we became friends. And now we've been on holidays together. We've been to more F1 races together. And since like 2 of them are now like engaged and getting married, and I'm the bridesmaid for one of them. So yeah.
The difference a TikTok can make.
Yeah, it's so wild. Like, and that's in the space of me just the time I've lived in England. So 4-ish years or even less. Which is wild. So yes, that's something people don't know about me and how it's evolved through my life.
No, I love that so much. I also love Formula One.
Yes.
And I feel like I have to caveat that I loved Formula One prior to Drive to Survive.
Fair.
Because there are so many fans that came afterwards, which is obviously great.
Yeah.
But they were a client of ours for a while.
Oh my God.
And we've done a number of activations at Formula One races and things like that.
Love.
But I also genuinely love the race. Can I ask you who your favourite driver is?
Oh, controversial, but I love Lando Norris.
No, it's not
Lando Norris, but I also love Lewis Hamilton.
Cool.
And I waited, this is so nerdy, I waited for hours outside Monza once and to meet them. And I got to meet them and I was so hardcore fangirling.
Life made.
Yeah.
Can we just pause for a second and talk about the Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian that's rolling out?
Don't get me started. I don't know how to feel because I thought I would marry Lewis Hamilton. So
okay,
I'm like
super fair.
I've never been jealous.
No.
But I'm intrigued. I don't know if it's real or not.
Is it a PR stunt?
I'm not sure. I hope not because I hope they're both really happy. But I'm not sold on it yet.
I also have heard that they have been friends for very many years. So I'm like, it would make sense for it to come out in the wash. Like same as Courtney and Travis.
Yeah.
They were friends for many, many years. She did her rounds and then she went back to her childhood sweetheart.
True.
So I feel like, I don't know, I'm quietly sitting there thinking like, hopefully.
Oh, I hope so.
But I was like living for their Coachella pictures.
I know, but I want to see her at more races. I'm like, she needs to come with the races with the outfits because everyone needs some competition out of all the wags.
Absolutely. Say less.
Love it.
Now, Grace, I feel like I knew about you before I knew about you, if that makes sense. So I'd listened to the Diary of a CEO podcast, and I've also been to Stephen's live shows.
Yeah.
I went to the one up in Brisbane, and he also called you out in that show and explained the work that you were doing and things like that. And that's where I feel like I first learned about you and your role. And I was like, no, I need to chat to this woman. I need the inside scoop on what she does. What's one misconception people have about you prior to meeting you?
It's probably like about females in general, but then maybe specifically me, as maybe I'm just like, oh, just go with the flow, like be happy, just have been on the train of like the Diary of a CEO growth. And it's like, no, actually, we've worked really hard, and also we're not afraid, like especially me, to like politely call people out. And maybe like the actual part of that is like the honesty. Like I am such an honest person in all senses, and not in a rude way, but in a polite and respectful way to people, to be like, this is my feelings and I stand up for what's right. And I think people probably wouldn't perceive that at first, that I'm like pretty honest, which I love. And I think it's a great trait personally.
I feel like that's why we get along.
Yeah.
We're both so brutally honest.
Yeah.
I feel like I can sympathize or empathize with that so much, because I feel like my entire career, my honesty has potentially been interpreted as aggression, or being too forward, or being too assertive. And 9 times out of 10, when a woman is called assertive, it comes with its negative connotations. Do you feel like your honesty in your career has had an impact on how people perceived you?
Oh, definitely. It's like you could go and be the person that's just working away, doing your job fine, whatever. But I'm the type of person that's like, no, I will stand up for what's right. And if it got me in trouble, or I don't mind, because I'm like, at least I'm standing up for what I believe in instead of being quiet. And I'm willing to do that because I'm so passionate about everything I work on, and like really going for my dreams and what I believe in.
Yeah, no, I love that. I feel like, so similar.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost like a natural selection.
Yes.
Like if people don't like you for the way in which you show up in the world, and I'm like, I think one of the biggest compliments I get is when people meet me in real life and they've followed me on social for a while.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're exactly like you are online. And I'm like, that is the biggest compliment.
Yeah.
But I am so brutally honest, and I'm so just me, that I think that if somebody doesn't like that, then you're like, oh, it's natural selection. Like you're welcome to be in my world.
And I think like on that, it's even, I think people live in not fairyland, but like almost like dreamland, whereas I'm so realistic. I'm like, if I can't see whatever it is working out or this way, like I'm gonna pivot or try and like really work on it. Whereas people will just sit in dreamland and I'm like, no, I have to see things in front of me to be able to achieve them, which sounds rogue, but I'm like, the really realistic side of me comes out.
I see that. Now, one of the big things I'm so huge on talking about, both on my social platforms, but then also on this platform, is honesty and integrity, and talking about the shit that we don't particularly talk about online, or perhaps don't highlight online, because a lot of people just live their highlight reels. Yeah. What's one thing that you're currently insecure about?
I'm quickly interrupting the episode before we get in too deep. If you want behind the scenes thoughts that I don't always share on the mic, as well as exclusive events, cheat sheets, and workshop invites, they go to my email list. You can sign up in the show notes. That's where the real stuff lives. Now back to the episode.
Definitely my weight.
Okay.
Because since I think it's really hard to give 100% to everything.
Agreed.
And I always give 100% to my work because I love it and I'm so passionate about it. But then my health, I usually exercise a lot and go to the gym, but then I will eat bad things because I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, or I know I also eat like with my moods. So if I'm stressed, I know I eat bad food when I'm stressed. Whereas some people like not eat when they're stressed. And I'm like, sometimes I wish I was the other option rather than eating all the food. But I don't think there's any good way. Yeah. But I think that's definitely, which is, I was gonna caveat and say I'm not insecure about anything, because actually since I moved countries, I have kind of every insecurity went out the window.
Interesting.
And like, I don't think I'm insecure about my weight, but I know I want to lose weight because I've put on the weight from like stress or not eating correctly.
It's just top of mind for you.
Yeah, 100%. It is top of mind. It's the one thing I'm like, I need to work on that's lacking in my life right now.
No, I can so deeply feel that. And I'm somebody that went from training like an athlete and eating like an athlete following an injury and a bit of an accident, that I had to just eating like an athlete, and I put on a lot of weight. I've lost 65 kilos, which you wouldn't believe. But
Wow.
I so deeply hear you and see you, because when I started my business, I poured everything into that. And like, I was working late nights, which meant that I wasn't getting up in the morning to go and train. And I'm like, no, I'm my best self when I do move my body. I feel better about the way that I am in life, how I feel in front of other people. And some people may see that as a really like materialistic thing or superficial thing of like, oh, I worry about how I look. But I'm like, how I feel is so important. And the weight loss journey I went on was crazy, but I feel like when you notice those ebbs and flows, like when I lost that weight, that was pre me starting my business. Then I started my business and I gained weight because I was like stressing, focusing on trying to keep my business going and starting it, doing something new, being in uncommon territory. And then kind of getting to the point where I'm like, okay, the business isn't burning. I can focus on me again now. And I feel like you're so right in that everything kind of has a season and a life cycle. But I really appreciate you sharing that with me, because I feel like most people would just keep that to themselves. But I so deeply resonate with you on that. And I think that it's exciting for you that that's something that is top of mind. Because it gives you something to focus on.
Oh, 100%. And it's like a safe space to be able to share that, which is so nice.
Oh, I appreciate that. Now, you are, as I mentioned before, the head of experimentation and failure for Stephen Bartlett. How would you define failure?
There's a few different types of failure. Like there's basic, complex and intelligent failures. And basic failures is like an accident. So say I was to like spill a glass of water, not something we want to do. And then where we want to fail is like intelligent failures, which is setting parameters, understanding like what is the goal of the experiment and the outcomes of, if it's a failure, what would happen. And we kind of can intentionally curate a failure before it happens. But to me, if I was to describe failure without it being too specific like that, it would just be like when you're trying something new and it doesn't go right. And the trying something new part is important because it's you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
Totally.
And most people are like, oh yeah, I fail. But it's like, no, you're not. You're not even pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to try.
And I think one of the things that we see more often now when it comes to failures being shared online, and it's the thing that really bothers me about this concept of building in public. I really hate it because the majority of people that I see build in public aren't actually building in public. Everything's delayed. And then they talk about it after the fact, or they talk about their lessons and learnings after the fact. And I think that they're very quick to talk about their highs and publicize them, but they're not actually capturing the bads, or the bad moments or the low moments. They just talk about them once they've gone through them. Right? And I think that one thing that I love about the stuff that you talk about and that you talk about on podcasts you've been on and the media that I have consumed of you is that you so freely talk about these experiments that you're running, and you're like, it doesn't matter what the outcome is, we just need to figure out the outcome. And I love that because it's like you are sharing those highs and lows. From a psychological standpoint, why do you think people are so hesitant about sharing their failures?
I think it's because like everything online, not just like people showing their successes, but everything is curated and it has to look perfect. And that's what society says. It's like you want to show, I think it's also an ego thing. You want to show your best self to people. Like you're not going to turn up to say it's like my 10-year school reunion this year. I'm not going to turn up and go, here's everything I failed at. Like the people who've failed probably don't want to turn up, which is really sad. And I think it's just a human nature thing of we have created a society full of egotistical people that you have to show off and show, whether it's a designer bag or what you're doing or your career or your kids. Like it's everything from every single spectrum of life that has to be perfect or shiny or showing off. And I think that's why people don't feel comfortable sharing failures, because no one else does. Like it's so rare, and maybe the only people that share failure right now are the people like a Jeff Bezos or an Elon Musk, where they're already at the top. And so you're like, okay, but you're at the top. Of course you're going to say about failure because you're there. And it's like, well, no, we need to see the people who are starting out now and how they're failing along the way and how long it takes them to get there. Like Amazon was started so long ago. Like it's really hard to almost picture that as a founder You need to see like the next step ahead, not 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important, failure in general, that people kind of change that culture of just sharing the good times and also share the bad, but without being like, woe me. Because I know it's sad, like when people post videos of them crying, when they're being honest, they then get hate for crying. And so you can never, I just think it's truly with social media, you can never win.
You're
But
always going to piss somebody off.
yeah, well, and I think that's like not a bad thing because it means you're choosing a side rather than being a fence sitter. But I do think there's something to be said in people sharing more about what didn't go right and being like, actually, that didn't work out and that's okay. And here's what I've learned from it. And the learning is probably the most important part.
I think reframing it is so important, right? Like I think one of my favorite quotes that I've recently come up against that I love is that everything is either an obstacle or an opportunity.
Yes.
And I'm like, the reframe is so important. And I think reframing things for me has changed my perspective on a whole heap of things. And I feel as though for a lot of people who would perceive a failure, so for example, let's say someone ran a business for 5 years and then they had to shut it down because they had family commitments or perhaps the work dried up or whatever. Some people would go, yeah, but you had a business for 5 years. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a failure.
Yeah.
And then some people would say, oh, well, it didn't last for 10 years, so it's a failure.
Yeah.
What do you think would change if we stopped the negative connotations that came with failing?
I think people would try more things. I think we'd stop seeing people stuck in a job maybe that they're just doing because it has to pay the bills, or which I don't think there's anything. I am an employee. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being an employee, but I think you'd see more people trying things, whether it's going and asking someone out on a date, which is people are too afraid to even do now. And like going and trying those things and stepping outside of their comfort zone is what I think we'd see more of. And I really think the world needs that as well. Like, people say, oh, there's a dating crisis. And it's like, well, maybe it's because there's none of that self-confidence anymore because people are afraid to fail. And that's in every area. It's like asking for a pay rise. Don't sit there in quiet resentment. Go and ask and try. And if it doesn't work out, fine, you stay on the pay you're on, but at least you've tried. And I think there's a lot to be said there in people trying and stepping outside of their comfort zone. And usually you find like a lot of the time it works out, which is crazy.
Yeah, there's this saying that's, again, I'm full of quotes, just so you know.
No, I love.
So like quotes is my like personality.
I love it.
I have friends that always joke that I should have a coffee table book that I just fill with all the quotes that I love.
Yeah, you should.
But there's that quote of like, it's better to try and fail than to never try.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would rather be someone that gives something a go and go, oh, it didn't work, but I gave it a go, than being like 10 years down the track being like, I wish I had tried that, or not having the environment that you had 10 years ago to try something.
100%.
I feel as though, and I don't want this to turn into like a woman and man conversation, because I feel like every time I bring up a question like this, it does typically, I want to be very firm on the fact that like this is not just a female thing, but I feel as though women in particular have been conditioned to not fail or not try and fail, or be a lot safer around the decisions that they make. And whether that's because they are deciding to be a mum and they want to be in a career that is safer. But I feel as though there is this conditioning around women that we are programmed to try and get it right the first time. When you stepped into this role that you're now in, which is experimentation and failure and leading that team, you were in a paid social role beforehand. Did you have to undergo a bit of a mindset shift on what it means to fail as a woman? You know what?
I think it's, I dwell on the reason why Steve asked me to do the role. And I really think it's because, and maybe it's an Australian culture that they're really jokey, but I think it's because he thought actually Grace won't be offended if it fails and goes wrong. Because I think I just go through life and I'm like, actually, like it didn't work out, whatever, let's go on to the next thing. For me, it wasn't so much a mindset shift. It was getting comfortable with, I'd say, the public side of failure. Like I've failed so many times in life and I just got on and done the next thing. And I know lots more people that have failed more than me, so maybe they should be in my role. But for me, it was like actually when something hasn't worked out, going to people and being like, this failed, this is what happened and why. And trying to learn how to also encourage other people to do that. Like how do you convince people to change their mindset? And I don't think the failure part of the confidence, I don't think is different in men and women. I think confidence to go and try things is different. But the failure side of when something hasn't worked out, I actually think sometimes men are less honest.
Agreed.
And because women can chat to their friends and be like, this didn't work out, what do you think? How do I solve this? Whereas I've seen so many people, specifically men in my life, like cover up like a failed business or be like, oh no, I didn't do that. And rather than being honest. And so I think both for men and women is, how do we actually teach people to be honest about the failure? Not so much they're going out and trying things, amazing. It's like the sharing part.
That should be a subject at school.
Oh, 100%.
As with a lot of other things that should be a subject at school.
Yeah, but it's not, because how could it be? Like, otherwise you have to pass your classes in school to like finish school, which is really sad, because I'm like, but what if that person just isn't made for school or isn't made for that subject? Like, I don't think anything I do now related really to any subject in school. No. And so what does that mean? Like, was I bad at school? No, like I got good grades. But was I honing my craft? No, and then maybe I could have been all of those years.
You mentioned before about the fact that you failed at a lot of things in your life.
Yeah.
Can you share some of those things?
Oh God, yeah. I failed a class in uni.
Which class was it?
Fundamentals of Finance, I think it was.
Boring.
Which is hilarious. Now I'm like, oh, I wish I listened because I could have made more money.
You can't be good at everything.
My friends and I like sat on the floor at the back of the room, which is, I've never done that in a class. And this is what's so interesting, I think, is I failed one class, but I got 4 first in classes. And I'm like, how does that add up? How can someone fail a class but also top a class or 4 classes? And I think that's the perfect example of the classes I topped were classes I adored.
Loved.
I didn't even study for those. I just like went in and I knew what it was because I had been so interested in the subject.
Yeah.
And I think it's I'm like, I never thought about it at the time of being interesting, but now I'm like, it's such an interesting analogy because it truly shows like what you're passionate about, you will succeed in, and you shouldn't maybe waste time on the things you're not passionate about, and those failures don't matter.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my biggest failures.
No, I love that you talk about that because I think it's something that I talk about with like exercise. So going back to exercise, and I feel like, so I actually started my Instagram way back when Instagram first started, documenting my weight loss journey. So that's what I was known for, was I was like, if I can just post on here every day, I'll share with people what classes I'm taking, what I'm eating. And this was before the whole like fitness influencer thing.
Yeah.
And so I built a really great community around sharing the type of exercise that I love. And I think over the years, I've come to realize that when people go, what's the best exercise for weight loss, or what's the best exercise to get to my goal, I'm like, it's the one that you enjoy.
Yes.
Because it's the one that you're most consistent with. Yeah. And it's the same as creating content. Like when people go, what channel should I be posting on? I'm like, the one that you enjoy. Yeah. Like whether it's LinkedIn and you like writing, whether you love recording videos or taking photos, Instagram and TikTok, like choose a channel that you're actually going to enjoy creating content for. Yeah. Because if you don't enjoy it, you won't keep doing it.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes this podcast so easy to roll out, is because I love chatting to people.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious about people, and I've never had somebody on the podcast that I'm not interested in.
Yes.
And I never will.
Yeah.
Just because I know that the conversation would be boring.
Fair.
But I think that you're so right around passion and following your passions. So if someone was at school right now, as we have both been at school, and we're sitting there being like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know where I want to be. Do I go to uni? Do I not? What advice would you give them?
I think it's about trying, while you're in school, trying as much as you can. So I still say yes to everything. Like I am a say yes person through and through. And you know what? Even if people say like that's a bad thing, you need to like be precious of your time. And like every single opportunity has happened because I've said yes.
Perfect.
And I tried everything in school. Like I did sports, I did musicals, I did like other speech and drama lessons, I did debating. Like I just loved trying everything to see what do I enjoy. And I loved it all, obviously. But I wanted to try and see like where do I hone my skills and where do I really develop. And I think something even more interesting is like on the side, what can you do on a weekend or after school, even while you're at uni, to really understand where your love and passion sits. Like going in volunteering for work or going in crafting different things, like if it's a digital or virtual work, is like really testing it and seeing like, do I enjoy this? Because also controversial, but I don't think university degrees are what work is like in real life.
Absolutely not.
No, mine definitely wasn't, but I don't know. Maybe like a doctor's hopefully is slightly more aligned to what.
You would hope so. I say this a lot because I'm like, I get asked, obviously being in marketing and marketing-centric role, I get asked a lot, do I need to do marketing at uni to do marketing? And I'm like, no, but you can. Like, I love textbooks. I love learning. I'm a bit of a like nerd when it comes to work and learning and like applying myself that way.
Yeah.
And it worked for me. But do I think it's the only way to open the door? No. Like you could also go and spend 3 years interning at a place where you're learning and hopping around and seeing what's, what floats your boat.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
But I think that, I don't think it's the answer for everybody. But
no.
Stephen regularly talks about failing fast. And I really love the concept of failing fast because it encourages failure.
Yeah.
Like it encourages getting to an end point, whether it's a good outcome or not, quickly. No one talks about failing slowly. And the thing that I was thinking about the other day is how do you call out a problem that isn't working, that nobody wants to call because they said that it's got to have time to see if it works, or it's got to have a certain person, to goal or whatever for it to work. How do you name that in a room as an employee without it becoming political?
Fair. Really good question. I think, to begin with, it's understanding has whatever you're working on run for long enough. So for us, when we're running experiments, especially good examples like on our website, on product, and people will be like, oh, but we've got the results after 5 days, like let's switch it off and go. And it's like, no, it actually needs to run for a long enough amount of time to have really accurate results. So even if it's going badly, it's like, no, we actually still need to keep it on because we don't know yet. So it's a mix of that. But when it's something, say, fundamental in a business that's been running for a while, it's about really someone taking that leap, as I said, like going out of the comfort zone to be like, hey, I don't think this is working, why? And I think the why is so important. So backing it up with evidence. You're not going in and being rude and being like, this isn't working. It's going in with your ideas and saying, hey, I think this isn't working. Here's why, all of the evidence, and maybe this is what we could do instead. So it's never about calling someone out saying the work's bad. It's about suggesting better ideas. And I think there's a really better way to frame it than just being like, no, we should stop doing that, it's wrong. Framing it with something else and coming with a new idea.
Yeah, I love that. I say to my team all the time, don't come to me with a problem unless you've got 3 solutions.
Yeah.
Like 3 different options of how we can fix it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll come up with the solutions, but that's not my job.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to think. With that then in mind, if someone is listening and they're an employee in a business, maybe they're senior, maybe they're not, and they want to start experimenting on things or running more tests within the business, we get it quite a bit with the personal branding work that we do for businesses, because we get employees reach out to us and go, Hayley, I know we need to be building our personal brands, but like my boss doesn't believe in it. Like, how do I pitch it to them? So I give them like 5 or 6 different proof points or case studies that we've done with other businesses, but then also like stats that we know that exist in market that supports building personal brands within organizations. But how do you encourage, or how would you suggest somebody working in an organization starts to experiment a little bit more, but how do they sell it into their boss?
Yeah. Perfect example is, though there's a few examples, like showing case studies from around the world. So showing other businesses experimenting and showing how it's benefited them. Like they grew X amount, which is like the real world. Then showing how you're already experimenting. And most companies are already experimenting, but they just don't call it that. And so being like, what are we already trying that works? And getting, again, those numbers, everything should be backed up by data, getting those numbers and saying, this is what we're already experimenting with. We're just not calling it that, but we need to push the boundary even more. And then the third part I'd say is actually going and coming up with the ideas of what you want to experiment. And the best way to do this, I'd say, is small and big experiments, like the 1%, but also bigger experiments. But then breaking it down and saying, like, this is the experiment, this is what we want to achieve if it's a success, this is the failure. And if the failure is as small as possible, they're probably going to be like, okay, let's try it.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, you're almost like pre-predicting for them what's going to happen, which is the best possible outcome for them. Because then they're going, okay, I know what the worst like outcome could be, let's go for it and see. And like, at least we know that's the worst outcome, but it could be all of this other potential.
You talked about like the growth of the business, and obviously you run a division that literally you do day in, day out is experimenting.
Yeah.
Are you able to share any insights on when that business unit was formed, and I suppose the direct impact that it's had on Stephen's business at large? Because I know that you don't just work with the podcast, you work with Flight Studio and the other businesses and divisions within that. Can you give us a glimpse into, you know, from, I suppose, inception of what you're now doing as a full-time role, the impact that has had on the business at large?
Hello, just a reminder, this podcast only works because you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's the easiest way to support me. So go on, hit subscribe. I'll wait. Okay, now back to the episode.
Yeah, so it started 2.5 years ago when I moved from his social team to Experimentation. And at the start, it was a bit chaotic. It was like, what do we experiment on? Everything. Whereas no, we needed to really have focus. And then it's now expanded from just me and the team to we have 3 people in the Experimentation team,
So cool.
which is really fun. And the idea behind it is running experiments day to day to help the podcast grow, but then also coming up with bigger ideas. So there's been like projects that we've worked on that years ago that have now become like really big parts of the business, or being able to contribute directly to like views, revenue, growth, or impact, and showing every experiment ladders up to those and really has an impact on the business. And so that's kind of how it's evolved. Is it was chaotic at the start, we were doing everything, and now we're really aligned to the company KPIs and how we contribute.
Yeah, I love that. I feel as though I heard you, maybe it was on Erica's podcast, The Balance Theory, the fact that you now, all of your KPIs and goals point towards, like, all the arrows are in the same direction of the business goals. So like you have to have them all facing the same way.
Yeah.
Can you touch on a bit of like the framework of how you would, I suppose, formalize an experiment day to day?
Yeah. So when we're going through it, we set our experiment out. So we're like, what is the experiment? What are we actually going to do? And then what's the hypothesis? So what do we believe will happen when we run this experiment? Then the measurements, we choose one variable. So we're not trying to measure in a social post likes, comments, shares, saves, and everything in between. We choose one because we know like we want to determine a success or a failure. And then the final one is the determinant, which is where we set what deems the experiment as success or failure. And that's where we're saying, like, if it's a failure, here's what we're going to lose. And so we really have set it out so we know before we even go into it all of the structure and like the potential upside and potential downside. And so it's super basic still, like, but it's simple because we want people to be able to experiment as easily as possible.
And understand it, right?
Yeah, like you don't need a 20-step process with all these forms for people to be able to experiment. The idea behind it is like go and try things and see if it works.
Yeah, I love that. And you kind of created this like really simple process that makes it easy for anyone to try regardless of what level they're at.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, I want to quickly touch on the fact that obviously Stephen's business is huge, and it's growing exponentially. You guys obviously have the funding, the time, the resource to regularly experiment and test. But for a solo business or a smaller team, how would you suggest they start experimenting on things or creating structure around experimentation?
Yeah, I think it's about, you don't need to run an experiment every day. It could be one a week or one a fortnight. And really looking at, again, what's the goal of the company or your department and how can you try something new that's going to line up to it? Yeah. So it doesn't have to be something massive. It could be, say my goal is to grow Instagram followers. It's what can I do or try this week that's new, that's going to hopefully increase those followers. So it might be a new format. It might be posting an extra post that week, or maybe even like going and commenting and commenting on people's get engagement. So really going in and finding those experiments, but they don't have to be big, or like a lot of them at the start. It can be very small, but trying it first, and then you'll get into the habit. It's like such a habit or a muscle, like growing experimentation muscle of constantly using it and testing. And then it's like, okay, we can experiment super fast and it comes almost like naturally.
Love that. We spoke about it at dinner briefly, but I think that it's almost like this neuroscience of like, to create a new habit, you have to do things repeatedly to kind of create that neuroplasticity of the new neural pathway of like, okay, I've done this and it provides a good result, or it gives me something of value.
Yeah.
So I think repeated behavior is so important.
Yeah.
My question around not experimenting. If a business's argument to not experiment is that they're playing it safe, when does playing it safe become the biggest risk a business can take?
It's their call. And if they want to play it safe, then don't expect to be growing or the biggest business in your industry in the future. And I think it's really sad to see businesses go, but we don't have time to experiment, or it's too high risk. And I'm like, okay, well, you're taking an even bigger risk that you're not going to grow. And that's your choice. But if you don't want to grow, fine. Like, don't expect the growth to continue over the next 5, 10, 15 years. Like, if you're going to, I think the perfect example is like someone will probably come into any industry, be experimenting, learning, and growing faster than you and overtake you as in competition. And that's why, like, even though we are at the top of an industry in podcasting, it's more important to us now than ever to experiment, because it really is showing like we're at the top. But actually, we need to keep experimenting. Otherwise, we will not stay there. Someone else will come in with a better podcast or like more ideas for how to grow it, and they'll take that market share. And you can see it. We see it happen in every industry. It's like the media industry, in terms of like streaming and Netflix, and like how they're all sharing or taking each other's market share. It's going to keep happening. And so it's totally people's call, but there's probably one right way and one right thing to do if you want your business to grow. If you don't want your business to grow, totally fine to stay safe.
Yeah, and who doesn't want their business to grow? It's crazy.
This conversation doesn't end here. Part 2 is where we go deeper. Make sure you subscribe so you know when part 2 drops. Remember, you don't win by posting more. You win by being the name they think of first. Stay top of mind.